Yes, mate, how's it going? My name's Lee, and welcome back to the FPL Punk YouTube channel, where we try to dominate FPL one game week at a time. The FPL deadline is fast approaching, so get those teams locked in. Today, I'll go through my current team selection for game week one. I'm about 90 to 95% there. I'm nearly happy with my team. I might tweak one or two things before the deadline, but I am very, very close to my final team. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe down below for more FPL content. Anyway, let's rock and roll. Right, mates, first up, we've got the goalkeeper and the defence, and like a lot of people, I've opted for Dean Henderson in goal. Brentford away in his first game, 4.5 million goalkeeper. I think he's the best 4.5 million goalkeeper personally. The reason why I've opted for that is because I wanted Gabriel in defence. I think he offers that goal threat. I initially had Raya, but moving over to that allowed me to go and get Gabriel instead. But Dean Henderson plays for Palace. Even with kind of like the rumours surrounding Mgaye and Eze and things like that, I don't think it's going to disrupt them too much. They had a really good defensive record once Glasner took over towards the back end of the season. They had something like the fourth best defensive record in the league. And that's the reason why I've kind of opted for him. I think they'll concede a lot of shots, but a lot of low XG shots, which should help him with things like saves and bonus and all those kind of things that you expect from a 4.5 million goalkeeper. I think he'll do pretty well for the medium to long term for me as well. So my initial plan was to wildcard relatively early. I've kind of moved away from that. I want to try and remain quite flexible with my chips and particularly my wildcard, and whether that's wildcarding at 3 or 4 and kind of sticking with that plan, or trying to remain flexible and wildcarding around 8, 9, 10 instead, or maybe even a bit later than that as well. So I think Henderson offers me that more flexible approach as opposed to a David Raya, where I would be a bit more locked in from an Arsenal point of view, whereas I want more outfield players eventually from Arsenal. So that's the reason why I've kind of gone down that route instead. And I know I've doubled up on the Palace defence in Munoz, but I just think he's so attacking. He's such a threat. Like, they play almost like a 3-5-2, and Munoz is just right wing back, right mid, right winger at times. He gets shots away. He's really dangerous in the final third. But Munoz is one of these players that I'm not 100% happy on right now, and he could easily drop down to a 4.5. Someone like a Lewis Hall, I think, has got these good and decent fixtures as well. I've got a relatively strong bench. I've got Anthony Robinson and Leif Davis both on the bench. They've got relatively tough games in game week one, so this defender that I'm playing almost needs to have a good game week one fixture. So I'm looking at the likes of Munoz, Lewis Hall. I'm even looking at Barco. If I think Barco starts against Everton, I don't hate going for Barco and then moving on down the line. Barco then becomes my second sub on the bench. So I don't hate going down that route instead at all. Onto my other defenders, I've gone for Gabriel. Wolves at home, really good fixture, really good chance of a clean sheet. And the reason why I've opted for Gabriel over Saliba, I'm not concerned about minutes at all. I think he offers a better goal threat. I think he's probably a bit more assured of minutes this season as he was compared to last season. And that's the main reason why I've gone for it. I know they both scored in pre-season the other day, so both Saliba and Gabriel scored. I think Gabriel just offers a bit more of a consistent goal threat, and that's the only reason why I've gone for him. I can see the reason why people are going for Saliba. He's probably got a better expected minutes. He's probably a bit more assured of his start, but I'm not concerned about Gabriel, and that's the reason why I've gone for him. I've still got Trent, and Trent's a really tough one because I really, really want him, and they've got a great opening one of 6 or 7 games. Liverpool, like even though they've got Man United in there, they have done relatively well against us in the past. They've got one of the best opening fixtures, Ipswich away. And he's so good going forward, and he's so dangerous from an attacking point of view, and that's the reason why I want him. But he's so expensive that if I didn't have Trent, I could move so many other things around in my team. Like if I drop Trent down to someone like a Pedro Porro, who's someone that I am looking at as well. I could upgrade someone like a Brereton Diaz, who again that I absolutely love. And go and get somebody else, you know, like I could go Trent down to Pedro Porro, Munoz down to Lewis Hall, move a couple of things around, take Brereton Diaz up to someone like a Bruno Fernandes. There's quite a lot of flexibility in the team from that point of view, but I just think Trent is so good going forward, and I think they're going to be better this season as well. That I think they will keep more clean sheets, and I think he will get better attacking output as well. That's the main reason why I've gone for him. Overall, relatively happy my defence. There are a couple of things I am still kind of considering, like whether that just revolve around Trent or Munoz, taking those down to someone. But I'm pretty set on Henderson and Gabriel as like a mainstay moving into game week one. you think I'm missing any defenders, or if you think I should go for someone like a Pedro Paul, leave a comment down below and let me know who you're going for. Next up, we've got the midfield, and I've got Minter, Diogo Jota, Saka, and then Nkunku, with Brereton Diaz on the bench. The reason why I've gone for Minter, and I did a video recently looking at the 5.5 million midfielders, and Minter ranked last. The reason why I've gone for Minter, I think he rotates very, very well with Brereton Diaz. So Brereton Diaz has got Newcastle away this game. Minter has got Everton away. After this, Minter's got something like Man United and Arsenal, I think. Brereton Diaz has got Nottingham Forest at home and Brentford away, I believe. So those two rotate very, very well, and that's something that I'm trying to think about with my team. That's the reason why I've got no weak players on my bench, players that can rotate all the time. And regardless of injuries, I'm happy playing any one of my 15 players besides my backup goalkeeper, which is Ward from Leicester. So that's the reason why I've kind of gone for that. I think Minter's going to be a very good player, and I think he's a decent long-term option as well. He is, again, someone that I am considering tweaking and kind of moving around. Like, if there was any changes in my team, he might be one of the players that I am considering starting to move around. But I think he might be good. I can kind of see like a Dingra, Mitoma kind of vibes about him. I think he's going to be very explosive, very quick, very direct. I think he'll be involved in the goals and the assists throughout the course of the season. And he's got a really nice game away to Everton in game week 1. They've lost a couple of players. Branthwaite isn't going to play. They've lost Onana, which I think is a massive blow in the centre midfield, and Brighton, and hopefully Minter can exploit that. Now you can see I've got no Salah, and it's, as a lot of people I kind of see in this, I just think Diogo Jota can not replace Salah, but I think he can compete and match him. And for 5 million less, I don't know how I can go and get Salah instead because of that price difference. And from that point of view, I think they've got a real game. Ipswich in game week 1. I think he'll start, and as long as Darwin is building up his fitness, I think Slot prefers Jota anyway. In my opinion, he's their best striker, he's their best forward, he's their best finisher. Even with the likes of Salah and Darwin and everyone else there as well, I do think Jota is their best finisher. And what I think we might see a lot of as well is I think Jota might move to the left wing, or might move on to one of the wings rather than come off in 60-65 minutes. He has been known to play 85-90 minutes over the course of the season as well. So the things out the realm of possibilities that Jota does play 90 minutes every single week for the first 4, 5, 6 weeks. And it's actually someone like a Luis Diaz who makes way for someone like a Darwin Núñez instead. From his points per game last season, he matched Salah, and I think he beat him over a certain part of the season as well. So I think he's a good player. I think he's a really dangerous player and someone that I'm really happy to own. I don't see me getting Salah back in right now because that would mean ripping up the team quite a lot. I mean, like looking at a combination of players, looking at someone like a Jota and a Saka. They both cost 17.5 million in total. That's like getting Salah 12.5 million and then a 5 million, something like a Morgan Rogers. I would rather have Jota and Saka in terms of combination of players, and that's the kind of reason why I've done it. I feel like the combination of Saka and Jota can compete with Salah on his own. Moving on to Saka, Wolves at home, great game, probably on penalties as well. Wolves are a little bit weak, and I think they will have a decent season, but right now it looks like they are quite weak right now, and I think Saka can hopefully exploit that. Like I said, like he's on penalties as well, and on some set pieces, which then brings me back onto the Gabriel point that he is such a threat from set pieces. So Saka for me is just, I think you almost need him right now, and I would favour Saka over someone like a Heung-min Son, who is going to get pushed out to the left wing, which I didn't think he was as effective playing left wing. And then maybe over someone like a Cole Palmer as well, and that's the reason why I've got Nkunku, because I think Nkunku can compete with Palmer. I think Palmer will probably outscore Nkunku, but for the saving of 4 million, I think Nkunku can almost certainly compete. He has got a really tough game in game week 1 at home to Man City, but I'm hoping with the absence of Rodri that it might be a bit of a goal fest, and Man City might eventually win 4-2, 5-2, 4-1, 3-1, whatever. But I think Nkunku playing in the 10, playing in the 9, I think he might be there or thereabouts involved in the goals. And if Cole Palmer ever went off, I think Nkunku would be the second penalty taker. So there's a couple of different options with that. I have been debating whether taking Trent down to a 5 million defender and upgrading Nkunku to someone like a Bruno Fernandes is something I have been toying around with the idea of. But I think Nkunku offers probably some of the best value in the game. And I think if you haven't got Palmer, I think you're going to want part of that Chelsea attack. And that's the reason why I've got Nkunku. Last but not least, onto the forwards, and these haven't changed from my previous draft. Haaland, Muniz, and Isak. I think they just offer the best balance and threat and overall short, medium to term kind of quality of fixtures. Haaland at home to Chelsea, I'm not concerned about playing him. I wouldn't even be that concerned about captaining Haaland in this game as well. Isak's probably going to take captaincy, because I feel like if anyone can kind of go mad in game week 1, it's probably going to be Newcastle, and I feel like a lot of people are kind of feeling that as well. At home, I think the fans will be up for it against a newly promoted team. I think they'll attack. I think they'll be very dangerous. If you've got a Gordon, if you've got a Lewis Hall, if you've got a Jacob Murphy, then all be kind of involved in some way or another. That's the reason why I've got Isak. That's the reason why I'm probably going to captain Isak as well. Newcastle have got a decent run of games as well. City, I've also got a decent run of games, and this first opening game doesn't put me off owning Haaland at all. In terms of the Haaland kind of Salah debate, I obviously gone down the Haaland route just because I think Jota can compete with Salah. I don't feel like there's any other striker or any other player from Man City who can compete with Haaland. Probably going to be Foden or Kevin De Bruyne, but I feel like the midfield is so stacked right now that I don't know, and I don't know where they're at in terms of pre-season and minutes. Like De Bruyne's minutes have been very, very reduced. I don't think Foden's played any pre-season so far. Which obviously then puts me off the likes of Gvardiol. That's the reason why I've not got Gvardiol as well. So I don't feel like any other striker can compete with Haaland, especially if he does go a bit crazy. And historically, Haaland has always had a good start to the season. Over the first 4, 5, 6 games, like he's always kind of matched his games in terms of goals or output. Usually bettering it on more than a couple of occasions. So that's the reason why I've gone for Haaland over Salah. I know he's more expensive, but for me, if Haaland goes crazy, I feel like I can compete owning Jota, because I feel like he's still going to get returns. I hope that kind of makes sense. But for me, I'm going to go with Haaland. I feel like it's the better option, and I feel like it's too scary not to own him right now. Muniz is a little bit of a gamble for me. They've got Man United in game week 1. I don't think we're ready for the season. As a Man United fan, I don't think we're ready at all. Even Ten Hag came out and said that we're not fully prepared, that we're not fully ready for this game. So I still feel like we are very, very weak defensively. We're weak in the kind of the number 10, our defensive mid section of the pitch, and I feel like they could exploit that. That's the reason why I had someone like a Smith Rowe. The reason why I've moved off Smith Rowe is just because Marco Silva came out and said, I can't remember his exact quote, a player with the injury record of Smith Rowe needs to build up this kind of fitness. That's the only reason why I've moved off Smith Rowe. I think he's a great option. I think he's a really solid option. And if I had more assurances of that he was going to start, I'd maybe be looking at Smith Rowe instead of like a Brereton Diaz instead. I just think Brereton Diaz is also a really good option. I think that 5.5 million bracket, there's so many good options in that team. Last but not least, nobody touching him. Alexander Isak, great opening fixture at home Southampton, one of the newly promoted teams. I think he's going to go crazy. I think he's going to do really well, and that's the reason why he's my main captain for game week 1. Vice is probably going to be on Haaland. Overall, relatively happy with my team. I might change a couple things between now and the deadline. Okay, so that's my team selection for game week 1. I'm about 90 to 95% there. I might still make a couple of tweaks, but the overall gist of the team is still kind of there. What do you think of my team? Leave a comment down below. If you got any questions, any kind of queries, leave a comment down below. Let's have a little conversation. Anyway, all the best for game week 1. Good luck. Get those teams locked in. I think it's going to be carnage tonight. I think everything's going to crash. So make sure you get those teams locked in. Have a good day. Peace and love. Take it easy.